record too, because it's easier. All right, it looks like we are alive. Buttons here. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are in episode number 30 of Holistic Health Happy Hour. So welcome to the party. If you're catching us live, welcome, welcome. We just kind of impromptu did this today. So if you're not, that's fine. You'll catch us on replay. So for those who may not know, I am Julie Sherwood, your Best Hopes Wellness Coaching, yourbesthopeswc.com, where I do Salukin. Oh, Lordy, that's been a week. And it's only Tuesday. Solution-focused wellness coaching, root cause therapy practitioner, and constellational 13-sign astrology, and a Reiki master. So mind, body, spirit, 360 connection. And co-host a little podcast with my dear friend, Maria Schumacher. Tell us about you, my dear.
I'm Julie's dialogue coach.
Indeed.
Which is not true. Which is not true at all. We both stumble over our words all the time. Plenty. No, I think if anything, I would be Julie Sherwood's nerdy fangirl and biggest cheerleader.
Which I've needed this week.
You have not. You have weathered it with aplomb. But I do write a daily astrology blog for a couple of pages on Facebook, Cosmic Reflections and Radical Astrology. I am a 13 sign, or 13.
Yeah, you got it. See, this is why we do this together.
Dialogue coach, indeed. Yes.
Yep.
True Sky 13 constellation astrologer. I am also a practicing witch for about 30 years now. Still practicing. I'll get it right one of these days. And by day I am an interior designer, so I have lots of hats, and I like having lots of hats. It's my thing.
Yay.
You can find me at venus-13.com.
Yay.
And you can find Julie at
yourbesthopeswc.com. And you can find both of us not only on this little venture, but we also do something else, which we'll remind everybody at the end. We have a little group called Constellational Conversations, or ConCon for short.
ConCon.
So we have two groups. One meets the second Sunday of the month from 11 a.m. U.S. Pacific, 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern for 2 hours. And then also twice a month on Tuesday, the second and fourth Tuesday, for only an hour. And that's 4 p.m. U.S. Pacific, 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern. And we literally do a dialogue conversational approach to learning astrology. And, we could do the 101 and, chapter 1, chapter 2. There's a place for that. That's all fine and good. And if y'all want to do that, there's plenty of our colleagues out there that do that, and that's awesome. But we are taking more of the dialogue approach in an interactive platform for people to learn about astrology. And you can come in with no experience whatsoever, what's the sun, or have come from tropical and want to learn about the constellational approach. Doesn't matter. So we just love to have our community grow and have conversations that are oriented to the 13-sign constellational approach. So we'd love to have you. And if you want to learn more, it's $22 a month, so $22 for 2 hours worth of session. And you can reach out to my dear colleague at Vianne, V-I-A-N-N-E, at venus-13.com, and we'll get you all set up. So,
yep,
there we have it.
That's our fun thing that we like to do, talk astrology. So we're here to talk astrology. We have a class where we talk astrology. We get online with each other and talk astrology.
Yes. And I have to say, if you guys have not connected to read the dailies, whether you do it on Radical Astrology or Cosmic Reflections on Facebook, or just join Maria's Patreon, she writes the story in the stars. It is not formulaic. It is not cold. It's beautifully, divinely feminine writing approach to the story in the stars. And so I invite you guys to check it out. And again, if you're not on Facebook, just reach out to Maria at the at venus-13.com and she'll get you set up on Patreon. So
Thank you. That's kind of you. I enjoy writing them. I mean, I really do. It's definitely just my thing, and it's fun
yeah, it's
to
not dry.
write them.
She brings the brings life to the characters, if you will. So
Well, and it's my way of learning. I mean, I started doing them, as a learning exercise,
mhm,
and I continue to do them as a learning exercise. I would not consider myself an expert by any means. That having been said, I do practice every day,
right.
because I want to be connected,
Yep.
so that's it. And it's just, so thank you, Julie. I'm glad that comes through.
Speaking of,
Should I press buttons and share a
let's press
screen?
buttons and bring up what
All
we got
right.
going on. And Lordy, I'm praying this is transmitting and recording and doing all that stuff because that's been
It's told me that it is. It has told me twice now that we're recording, so we must be really recording.
yeah.
Okay.
It's coming, and there it is.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
Duh.
So what
So
do we?
this
Oh boy, there's a big circle right on top of everything.
was
uh,
it too subtle?
I can't see it. Wait,
I can't see it. I can't hear you. Your circle's too loud. River, shout out to our friend River Culver. Did
yes,
a beautiful write-up today on this Mars Regulus conjunction.
yes,
And if you guys don't follow River, you're missing out. And then he also writes just beautiful
pros.
prose.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's very well researched and very almost poetic, about the stars. His emphasis on the stars
yes.
more so than the constellations, the fixed stars, the Bohemian stars. And anyway, River Culver, beautiful write up on the Regulus Mars conjunction. Regulus, of course, being the alpha star of the Leo constellation, also known as the heart of the lion.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I just want to do a quick shout out. River of Stars Astrology. That's what his page is on Facebook. So
We'll
shout
link
out.
it.
Yep.
We'll link him. Ripper of stars, star brother, we love you.
So pray tell, what is Mars on Regulus doing to us today?
You know what? It's this is one of those where you can either lean into the traditional interpretations of these, or we can step back and try to take a little, I hesitate to use the word higher view, but how about we have all of the Neptune and Pisces help us see a bit different perspective of what our traditional 12 sign interpretations of some of these things, because stuff that we've been told is supposed to be hard and difficult and malefic and and nasty can be seen in a different light.
Yes.
And this is very much one of them. People have been afraid of, Mars on Regulus for weeks now, watching this conjunction build, while at the same time, Mars and Uranus, affectionately called Dave by me, um, mostly so he's not so scary, right? Uranus, kind of intimidating and scary. Uncle Dave,
Yep.
different light. So anyway, traditional ways to look, traditional interpretations of a Uranus Mars square are tense, right? Are challenging, are bad. right? Bad things happen in a Mars-Uranus square. And like, okay, I get it. Bad things happen at a full moon too. However, squares are nothing more than the energy of challenge.
Right.
And a challenge can get you moving.
Mm-hmm.
A challenge can be exactly what you need to get yourself from where you are to where you need to be.
Right.
This is where I encourage us, and when I say us, I mean mostly myself, right? Because
Right.
my knee-jerk reaction to seeing this square apply was also, ooh, ooh, things are going to get lit. And indeed, if we do sort of give ourselves over, give up our free will to, oh, well, bad things are going to happen.
Yeah, you put it out there as a statement of fact.
A fait accompli, then
Yeah, right,
yeah, it
right,
probably will.
right. And we tend to look at the squares not as, like Maria was saying, the traditional, kind of thing. My key phrase that I love to use is energy potential. So
Thank
there's
you.
a potential energy in this aspect conversation. The question is, what do you do with the potential?
That's right. That's right. How do you make use of it?
Right.
Right. So there are, and this is the reason why I do dailies. And the reason why I don't generally do them in advance, because I don't think that astrology should be used solely for prognostication. I think that it's a method to help us understand how we fit into the grander scheme.
Right.
So it's almost better to look at it either just immediately in the moment or post hoc.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
while on the one hand, yeah, you probably wake up with a feeling of tension or a feeling of ease or a feeling of frustration or a feeling of hopefulness, depending on what aspect is happening that day.
Mhm.
You decide how you're going to move yourself through that energy from there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
well, what I was just going to say is when you were talking about the kind of looking at it more immediate to the moment or kind of in the rear view mirror, that rear view mirror has the benefit of, okay, the next time Mars and Uranus may square, granted the energies will be different because the constellations will be different and so forth. However, what did I learn this time when it squared? What happened this time when it squared? Okay, so the next time it shows up, perhaps I can understand that the potential energies could be, and I can rise to meet that.
exactly. The next I see it coming around the pike, and I'm like, the last time this happened, I felt really, really strong urge to go sack a church.
Yeah,
Maybe, and that didn't go so well for me. So maybe next time,
yeah, yeah.
you know, maybe next time I'll find a different channel for that challenging and aggressive energy that is probably coming,
And
right?
and that's known as remediation to the energy, right? And I'm going to do a quick shout out to Andrea Gares, who wrote the book Astrological Remediation. This is a beautiful way to bring that in and understand when there are challenges, especially if your chart in particular is triggered, lit up. Sounds familiar. Then
Yeah,
then the understanding, okay, I see this coming. Especially if it's something that comes around quite frequently with the fast movers like Venus, Mars, the Moon, and so forth. It's like,
yeah,
how do I remediate the potential challenging energy in a way that I don't get burned by it, right?
right,
So
right.
that's
Yep, I use the energy, but I don't need to, you know, get in a way that doesn't land me or other people in the hospital or require me calling Julie for bail.
I'm sorry, did you call?
Right. Exactly. I can't take your call right now. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, but it and and that's it. So that having been said, that all having been said, nobody would argue that the events of the last 4 days or so have beautifully reflected an approaching square between Uranus and Mars on Regulus, right? It's because some shit has gone down.
Mhm.
Because some shit has gone down. And this is how people chose to make use of that energy. Most people chose activism in some way.
Mhm.
Not everyone chose violence.
No.
And I think, at least I believe, that fewer chose violence than may have previously,
Could very well be.
right? Because, here we go. This square, these two dudes who have been approaching square to one another have also been building a square with these two ladies,
Mm-hmm.
Lilith and Lilith,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we've got Uranus opposite Lilith Black Moon and Mars opposite Lilith Asteroid. Oppositions,
Dynamic tension.
dynamic tension, seeking balance.
Mm-hmm.
Seeking balance. They are almost a more ideal partnership than a conjunction. A
Mm-hmm.
conjunction, one partner can eclipse another, one
Yes.
partner can occult another, one partner can overtake another.
Mm-hmm.
In the dynamic tension of an opposition seeking balance, both partners are assumed to be equal.
Yep. Or they collapse.
Oh, yep. Or you can't hold the opposition. You can't get to any kind of balancing point. So this I really think has been part of what has been holding that energy of a hyper masculine Uranus in Taurus and Mars in Leo square. I,
You know,
I don't want to say at bay, but it has been giving it an equal dose of co-equal divine feminine.
and you know what else I think adds to this balance that just dawned on me is Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, which is where Lilith Asteroid is sitting, and
Yep.
Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, which is where Black Moon Lilith is sitting.
That's why I love this woman.
So
Yes.
there's that balance point there, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I've been, well, Uncle Dave has been, banging on the door of my natal moon. Hi.
Oh yeah, Julie has a personal relationship with Dave that few would envy at this point.
Well, in this moment in time, right? You can, dude, move
Right.
on, but
He's
whatever.
definitely crashing on your couch and eating your food.
Yeah, yeah, exact. Well, and that's funny because it's in Taurus, right? It's all about my couch and my food, right? When it's Taurus.
Exactly.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is, you know, Uranus is, like you were saying, it's that Uncle Dave, that authentic, quirky, eccentric self that sometimes we tend to hide because we're not sure how people will receive us when we are at that point of projection out in the world.
Yep.
And Taurus, with him hanging out in Taurus, it's asking us to look internally at our own personal self values, Taurus, and what do we value in our own authenticity as we look at the Mars on Regulus,
Hmm.
right? And that's where I think also the balance point can be. I can bring my authentic self to the table in what I personally value, but I can do it in a way that doesn't light the church on fire, right?
That's right. Again, the goals are to not be arrested and need to call Julie for bail and not land yourself or somebody else in the hospital. These are two
Because
goals.
Dave is sitting on my couch, seriously.
Fairly simple, but yep. If what it takes is for him crashing on your couch for a few days, you know, in order to not be federally indicted, then maybe that works.
Yeah, yeah. And I think interestingly enough, what it's also rattling around in the little recesses of my little Mercurian brain is we have a couple of other opportunities here. And one is, I think the Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces can bring a sense of softness to it because Neptune,
Yes.
further strengthened by the home stars of Pisces, is oriented more toward the dissolution energy of Neptune, of all the rigidity that we've held on to with Saturn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just dissolve into it for a little while. Doesn't mean you have to accept it, doesn't mean you have to change it. Just dissolve into it for a little while. And as you said, take that higher view, right? Just like that 40K view and 40K foot view, and just kind of look at all of it without lighting the church on fire.
Yes. Yeah.
See that
From high above, you can see,
a lot more.
that burning church is not doing anything for me,
Right,
right?
right.
This is not helping. And if we want to continue the metaphor of the burning church, we can also take it to your relationships with people.
Yes.
That while on the one hand, yes, it is about pushing your urges, honoring what you feel you need to do, taking action toward your passions and your values, right?
And what
Those
supports
are
that?
things that just are going to happen with the Mars in Leo and Uranus and Taurus, I think. The
And
opposing,
yeah,
right? The opposing, okay, and how do I do that in a way that does not dilute anybody else's sovereignty? Because remember, the the divine feminine opposite requires an equal partner. Lilith never, ever, ever, ever wanted to be in charge of everybody. She
right.
wanted to be co-equal, right?
You,
I,
you even said taking action toward your personal values.
yeah,
You know what else supports that? Venus and Aries.
thank you. Nice segue. Let's talk about V, because that
Yep,
was going to be my next thing.
it
Yeah,
totally supports that.
that's yes. And today in the chart, so let's segue. Today, in addition to the divine feminine of Lilith, I won't harp on it too much because I'm sure y'all are bored with me waxing about Lilith. I will rapture for hours. But let's just, she's been coloring the relationship of the square between Uranus and Mars in a way that keeps it authentic and strong,
Hmm.
but also sensitive to all the rest of creation.
Hmm.
So maybe you won't get too carried away with your need to blow up a post office. Maybe you will think twice about, there could be consequences to that it's just not, no.
It,
See,
it, and you know how else I think Venus, how we can lean into that energy of Venus and Aries? Aries is about the physical self, right? The
right.
structure of the body. It's also the fire energy connected to Mars, taking action, movement.
Mm,
Venus is also connected to your five senses. So if there's something you can somatically do using your body to channel any energy that may be fiery and destructive, by using your five senses, listening to some, harsh music, or listening, or I mean, go digging hard in the garden, or something, that tactile energy, just get that energy out through any one of
yeah,
your five senses in a fiery way would be a
yeah,
great way to move that energy.
yeah. I
Like,
mean, even marching, playing,
yes,
dancing,
yep,
singing.
yep.
Um, uh, Today we had Venus perfect a little sextile with the moon and a little semi-square with the sun. So she had these two kind of, I mean, I don't want to say, I hesitate to say cute little aspects, but we don't generally focus too hard on sextiles and semi-squares.
Right.
But but I think in this case we could, because we have three very personal planets in contact with each other in a very strong way.
Mhm.
That poke of the semi-square, that like, hey, hey,
Mhm.
hey, no, notice what you're doing. Notice what you want to do. Hey,
Yeah, not as strong as a square. It's not a, it's more of a,
yeah. The challenge is more to notice. Notice
right.
me. Hey, hey, hey.
Yep.
Not like, come on, brother, get let's
Yeah.
get it on.
It's like standing in the window by your door, but not knocking on the door, right? Knocking on the door
Exactly.
is the square.
Exactly. Notice what you're doing. Look at yourself. Hey, look at what you're doing. Look at what you're doing. Look where I'm pointing. Look where I'm pointing.
Yep.
And then a sextile, so moon sextile Venus is kind of about, all right, how are we feeling about all that? And what do we want to express
Hmm.
of our feeling? Julie can probably say it better.
Well, with the moon in Aquarius, that's also bringing up the energy of Uranus again.
Mhm.
So again, it's how do I do what I do that is a good connection to all of humanity? How do I do what I do that has some visionary feel to it? How do I do what I do that is authentically
And
me?
that's, yes,
Moon play.
thank you. Yes, thank you. That I want to create. I want us to make something, but I want it to be, I want to think about what I do want for the future, not what I don't want. Do you see what I mean? I feel like the focus shifts from, okay, I don't want this, I don't want that. Well, what do you want? I want pizza. But yes.
You know what else could be playing into this energy too is how we have a relationship with AI. Because technology, Aquarius, Uranus rules technology. And so we have to look at it from the perspective of what is for the greater good of humanity and how we use the tool from
Yeah,
an altruistic perspective rather than a harming, selfish perspective, right?
here we go.
Or
I
self.
think it's, yeah. And again, I think it's most of like everything we're doing, where Sun and Venus semi-square. Hey, look at what you're doing. Moon and Venus sextile. Hey, what are you creating from that?
You know what else is playing into this, and I tend to forget sometimes about this energy of Jupiter and Sagittarius, and it's all about your soul, SOUL purpose. Jupiter rules our soul purpose. What are we here to do? What is our greater truth in this world? And
Mhm.
Jupiter just ingressed into Gemini, asking
Yeah.
us to start relearning about how we relate to that. Are we fulfilling our authentic Uranus soul purpose?
Mm-hmm.
Are we truly doing what we are here to do? And Jupiter only comes to Gemini every 12 years, right? Spends a bit,
Yeah,
but it doesn't ingress for it takes 12 years to go around the chart in its entirety. So this is an opportunity to spend the period of time Jupiter's hanging out there to really explore that. Go start, use a little bit of AI to find out a little bit more, of what's out in the world and what's available to you. I've always wanted to be whatever. I don't know if that's my sole purpose. What does it mean if I do that? How can I connect to others who do that? Technology.
exactly. Exactly. What tools do I have to do that? And notice Sun and Jupiter are they're moving into conjunction.
Yes, they are. So
They're going to conjoin one another in Gemini real soon.
hey, so brings a bit
At
of
that
ego.
silver gate,
Hmm.
at that, Milky Way silver gate across from the gold. So it's, yeah, the what do they call that? The cosmic axis.
Yes, yes, and it
Sun.
it brings an illumination to it,
Mhm.
as well as it brings a bit of our ego to it. How do we have a relationship with our ego? We need ego. You know, a lot of the spiritual bypasses, you need to dissolve your ego. Bullshit. That's why we're here to be humans. That's part of our experience is to understand how to use our ego in a way that is altruistically good and in our soul purpose alignment.
That's just it, that we're not necessarily here to dissolve completely into a hive mind, that we do have individuality, and the ego helps us stay connected with that. On the other hand, it is also true that an overblown ego, an out of balance ego, can keep you from your true purpose too.
Well, and we're seeing, and I don't want to get into the weeds of the political stuff because it's already enough to make me nuts. But we're seeing this play out globally when there's an imbalance in that, and it doesn't matter what perspective of the moon you're on, or where you are in the world, or who
Exactly.
you're experiencing this with. It's when the ego and power become out of balance. In other words, the Lilith isn't in balance with that Mars Regulus,
That's it.
then the authentic us that is all about the greater good of humanity needs to step up. We have to step up as individuals within our own community in a supportive, centered way. Get back to the
Hmm.
spring of Pisces.
Right. And help ourselves and our communities move into a vision of the future that is something new, that is not just a regurgitation of the old
Right.
paradigms, of the old imbalances, of the old enmities, of the
Yeah.
old, yeah, imbalances.
Yep.
Just we're not regurgitating that anymore. Yes, it is easier for us to talk in terms of what we don't want, but now we have some energy supporting us thinking about what we do.
It,
What is next then? Okay, we know
right.
we don't want this. And to a certain extent, okay, we didn't want blue, okay, we don't have blue. And now we don't want red. All right. So if we don't want red or blue, what do we want?
Right. Right.
It's
And
fine to be certain that, okay, neither one of these, please. We don't want to go back in either direction. We want to go to something forward.
yeah, that's community centered,
Mm-hmm.
authentically based, honors all perspectives in terms of what value we each bring to the table. And you know, one of the examples I can give, and I don't mean this to be disparaging or trite or anything like that, it's to illustrate a point, is whether you have a PhD after your name or you pick up my trash every day, they
Right.
all have value. And I think we've had a swing of the pendulum to devalue certain ways people are and how they work in the world. And it's like, no, no one is, you know, go ahead and watch when the trash people go on strike. How do you feel about having your trash picked up every day? Right. And again, it's to illustrate a point. It's not to be disparaging or comparative or whatever. It's just a commentary on our societal values.
Mm-hmm.
And I pray that we get back to that string of Pisces where we see that all aspects have value in our society in a way that we have that dynamic tension in balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's huge, you know. Um, and we have opportunity here. We have really ripe opportunity here as Neptune and Saturn do their dissolution dance. And
Yes.
Pluto is moving into, or really moving more, well, he's actually in retrograde, but as
Yeah,
he
he's
gets more
retrograde.
into Capricorn, this is our opportunity to dissolve what doesn't work and get ready to create what we truly need.
Exactly. And this time when we've got the clarity of Lilith and Lilith. Because remember what I always say about Lilith. Lilith always knows what isn't working for her.
Right.
And so as Uranus and Mars have approached the square, as you know, the hypermasculine has come into square and sort of lit off that all of that energy of wanting to force your will on your opponent, being opposed by Lilith, constantly going, but this doesn't work for us. But guys, this does not work for us. Guys, this doesn't work for us. Okay, watch yourselves. Go ahead and try it. Watch and see how this really doesn't work.
It,
And now there's Venus and the sun going, okay, then what else? What other?
and it goes back to something you and I kind of exchanged some conversation about, where we're looking at that balance of, the masculine and the feminine, if you will. But the
Hmm.
key word before each of those is divine.
Yes.
We have to look back to the divinity of the masculine energy and the divinity of the feminine energy. Otherwise, they are in an imbalanced.
Yes.
And I think that's the part we've forgotten. We throw those terms around, especially in the spiritual new age, whatever world. It's
Hmm.
we forget the divine part of it because we're so hyper focused on the masculine feminine part of it.
Hmm.
What is the divineness of it? We need both. We have to have both.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know, they both need a way to express themselves.
Yes.
We can't just stamp out the divine masculine. And stamping out the divine feminine ultimately hasn't worked either.
Right.
You know,
Right.
from again the 42,000-foot view, there are diminishing returns on stamping out the divine feminine.
Mhm.
That a healed, that an imbalanced masculine can't see
Right.
because his his vision is here. And I don't mean just men. I
No.
mean anybody running that imbalanced
Yeah.
message. And it's easy to get sucked into.
Yeah. And here's the holistic health perspective. We talked about Venus and Aries and how to use that energy. But
Hmm.
I would challenge people to, over the next several weeks, as things are, tending toward a bit spicy, look to yourself and how do I emulate the divine masculine in myself and emulate the divine feminine in myself? Whether you're man, woman, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's the energy. Is how I'm expressing the divine feminine and the divine masculine in balance within myself? And if it's not, what is out of balance? And can I look to somebody else who may help me regain that balance, right? I might be overly, exuberant in my masculine energy, and I look to Maria to bring in that feminine energy to bring it all back into divinity or
Or
what,
vice versa.
or
Yeah.
vice versa.
I
Yep.
might be so afraid of the world that I lean overly into the masculine side.
Right.
But there's a part of me that is craving that feminine expression, but I am afraid to lean into that. You know what I mean? So it's just a good thing to notice where you're off balance between those two humors. Because as above, so below.
Right.
How to change the world? Change yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? All the time. So here we get into the holistic health of it.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't like what we're seeing in the world, we're mirroring it somehow. And I hate to say it, but it is always true. If something hits you, like, oh, I just really hate that, it makes you angry, then there's probably something in you.
Yep. Or as what was it, Khalil Gibran that said, "Be the change you want to see in the world."
Yes.
Yeah. And
Be
so I would, the other challenge is not only look at where you're imbalanced in that, how do you define your own personal divine masculine and divine feminine? Just
yeah.
do an internal exploration on that. And especially as the moon moves into Pisces, that'll be a really good time.
That'll be a really good one. Pisces kind of always asks, okay, so then what else?
Yep. And personal
So,
reflection.
right. Person, okay, great. This isn't working for you. So what would? What else?
Yep.
Well, I don't know. It's always been this way. Yeah, I get that it's always been this way. But let's imagine. Let's imagine it doesn't have to be. Let's
Especially
pretend it doesn't have to be.
especially when the moon moves over that Saturn Neptune. It's
Exactly. And that's,
all right.
that has come to be the illusion delusion part that people get stuck on with Neptune and Pisces. Oh, it's illusion delusion. No, it's the expanded realm of possibility
Yep. Yep.
that is also being allowed for by Big Papi
Yep.
at at the axis of the cosmos there, right? By Jupiter and the sun.
Yep.
So
Shall
yeah.
shall we move into our other chart? Because I have two little puppies here that are getting a little itchy for Din Din.
Oh,
So
yep. Yep, yep.
time.
We'll have just a few minutes. Sorry about that.
And no, no, this is good. So let me share this. In fact, one is starting to whine. I know, baby. I know.
I'm sympathetic.
Okay. Again, we're not looking to wax poetic on the political world here, but this chart, um, there was discussion on a newsletter I got, and this particular astrologer practices tropical, so I kind of ignored that part of it. But it was interesting because it prompted me to take a look at the chart in the constellational perspective, because of course the aspects are all still going to be the same. It's just a matter of where they're hanging out.
Yep.
If you take a little look see at, and I see it from here. Maria sees it from the center of the wheel because she's got a great visual brain here. But you look at conjunction, 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 square, 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 conjunction. I mean, there's a lot of what's the word I want? Frictious energy.
A
It's
lot of overlapping.
energy.
There's,
That's the word I want. Staticky energy. And
yeah.
this is on the solstice. So we've got the solstice here, and I actually ran it for the exact time of the solstice, and it's in synastry with the US's birth chart. Okay, whoops. So I wanted to see what the energies of this solstice, the brightest day of the year here in the northern hemisphere, what is the sun shining light on in our US natal chart as we move into our birthday coming up in, a few weeks after, or 2 weeks after well, not even 2 weeks after the solstice, right? What is
Mhm.
the light that's being shown here as far as what we need to look at? And again, it's energy potentials. How can we understand where we're going to get lit up in this seventh house area here? So what are our relationships, perhaps globally, especially with Jupiter there? Jupiter's all about the global world, expanding into all different cultures and seeing the greater truths, if you will. And then the other areas, let's see, we've got Neptune and Saturn creating some squares with that area of the chart. So how do we dissolve what structures we've had in relationships with others? What knowledge, what information are we trying to find out? And again, our sole purpose of our country, SOUL, not SOLE. Right now, I think we're working in the SOLE area. So, oh, there go the dogs. Sorry, guys. A little masculine energy with my two boys. But at any rate, it's really interesting to take a look at those energies. So I would encourage us just to be mindful over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 days of the energy that's coming into our purview within the US, right? And it has a potential to expand out into the world in a way that may not be understood. So just again, take that 40K foot view. How do I stand on the string so that I can understand what this energy is before I react?
Right. And how do I feel it playing out in myself?
Yes,
In
yes.
in my contentious energies. How do I feel myself reacting to people who might be on the different end of the political spectrum? How hard am I trying to keep myself in an information bubble? How easy is it for me to maybe, step out of both? Do I play a blame game? What does that buy me? Um, You just all of these things, how do we react to what we see happening? Do we ever feel ourselves in it? How, is it possible for us to empathize to the point where you could almost understand the other
And
person? Or
there's that empathy right there.
yeah.
That Chiron return. It's just completed its perfection. It's 3 degrees separating, so it's finished, but it's still within orb. And it's lean into that compassion from that. Sorry, guys, there go the dogs. From that unconditional realm of Pisces, right?
Yep.
How do we unconditionally love? So, my boys are fine.
I think this is our cue. So we've kind of dropped this bomb out there, but that's okay.
Yeah,
No.
just stay tuned. I think this, maybe we'll take a look at it Friday, Saturday as the solstice comes through. Maybe we may have another opportunity to address it. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks sooner.
They're the children,
There they are. Oh.
guys.
Well,
Well,
thank you for tonight, my friend. I don't know if we had any live viewers, but if we did, thank
uh,
you for being here.
I saw one. That's okay.
Yay.
That's all right. We'll post the live will be available. Then I'll post a link on the Cosmic Reflections and Rad Astro. Oh, and the Fellowship of the 13. There's that group too. I can post a link out there.
Yes.
Again, conversation or constellational conversations. Hit up Maria at Venus-13.com, VIANNE. You have questions that I can help you with, yourbesthopeswc.com. There's a contact link there. We'd love to hear from you, or tag us in any of the comments. We'll be happy to just
Yep, we'll have all these in links below. So
and I'd love
thanks,
to
everybody.
with this energy. So yeah.